Okay, but
Yo,
we don't have we are live.
oh, you messed it up, DDP. I was gonna come back in like with the replay of like it didn't happen.
No, didn't happen at all. We absolutely did not talk for like 3 minutes, not realizing we weren't live yet.
Oh, that was a blooper. Like we should have had that. Like that should have
Yeah.
been recorded. That was perfect. What's good?
Not much, man. Not much. I'm gonna stick with my same bit as before. I don't give a crap. Not much is good, man. I am sick to death of watching Dallas build 20+ point leads and then piss them away in a matter of minutes. They got the win last night. That's cool. That's legit. Luka bails them out with typical Luka magic.
Crazy.
I saw someone calling it a game winner. It's not a game winner. They were up 1. He hits a rainbow 3.
Still had a chance.
Improbable, clutch, all of that. Absolutely. But it's like you were leading. It's not a game winner by definition, but
you don't feel good about that.
Yeah. It is what it is, man. Like you keep catching these teams in scenarios where it's like, okay, you're favored. You should be good now. And you just kind of mess around. And at least this time they actually put it away. Now the consequence of that, Luka's resting tonight. You have Dinwiddie coming off a 40+ minute game.
Right.
And you still don't have Jaden Hardy up on your active roster. So it's interesting watching this game now against Houston because you're like, I don't know. How's this going to go? And so far, it's
not bad. 51-42.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Houston's a bad team. Houston doesn't even want to win.
Right. They're 2-12. There's nothing to really get excited about because if you were ever to rest your top player, this is the game you rest them against because Houston's in a disarray. We just were talking about it off air. Silas is probably going to get fired at the end of the year. Let's bring him on back. If you get fired, Silas, listen to this right here. Listen to this show. It's a good show. Listen to this show. Tell them, bring you back because we want you back. You'll be a great asset back with the team, great with the players. He's just he's not a head coach, in my opinion, in the NBA. Nothing against him, but everybody's not a head coach. I think he's an awesome assistant coach, and he really can deal with the players on that level. So it is what it is. Oh, yeah, Eastside Harold. You're in here. I forgot. I called you Eastside. I never said I was never going to call you that again. What's up, Harold, and your Houston Rockets? They suck. So what you're going to do right now,
he's probably
Harold.
Happy about that, though.
No, he's going to switch to the Astros. That's what he's going to do.
Okay, he'll start talking about them, As if we care about baseball here.
Exactly. But that's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do.
Fair enough. He's got the playbook. Yeah. So, Houston, they don't even want to win this game. Like, they're, what'd you say, like 2-12? Like, they're literally throwing in for like this entire Victor. Oh man, one of these days I'm gonna learn how to say the name. Let's just say Victor in this case. They're all in on getting that top pick. I don't know.
Y'all know who we talking about. Victor 7-4. That's y'all know who we talking
Wamba
about.
Yamba or something like that. Wanabango on Manapia.
I'm calling you.
Yeah. So that's what they're all in on. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, Houston, they're not interested. I mentioned earlier Dinwiddie kind of coming off that 40+ minute game the other night. He's 1 of 8 right now.
Right.
And I find it a little hilarious that in a game where you're not playing Luka and like Dinwiddie's playing like ass, you're like, hey, Christian Wood, keep coming off the bench. Like, come on, man.
Right.
Like, the logic before is you needed to get some scoring off the bench because where are you going to find it in the starting lineup? Well, now your starting lineup, you're literally 30+ points a game guy. Luka is out for rest. Why not have Christian Wood in the starting lineup? Give him this little bit against his former team. Let him have this. But they never can. Kids got to play his mental warfare games. So that is what it is.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and bounce off of that and agree with you totally. Dinwiddie is 1 for 8 and 1 from 5 from 3-point range, but you got 2 for 2 for free throw, so that's good. I'll just give you a hand clap with that. They're doing great actually from the 3-point free throw line, but I'm just bouncing off of you with that DDP. I don't know why the hell you don't start Christian Wood against one of your old teams where you used to turn up over there. You rested Luka. They're 2-12, 1-9 away from home. Why in the hell are you not starting him? This is a game where you definitely start him. You don't got to worry about firepower off the bench. They don't care. Like, they don't care over there. They're fighting over there. You seen them just 2 weeks ago fighting each other, the young players fighting each other. So they're just about themselves and wearing their gear and looking good and all that good stuff and looking fresh and talking to their peoples at the end of the game. I play for the Houston Rockets. They don't care right now. So this is your opportune time to play a starter Christian Wood. And not only that, you could have had a Jaden Hardy, who you sent to the G League. I don't care. Yep. He's turning up. We already knew he could turn up. He played in the G League last year, and he did. I know he didn't shoot great, but he still turned up, average 17 a game. And he's going over there in 2 games, turning all the way up. This will have been a perfect game. Yep. Right, well, my bad, 4 games. But this is a perfect game against the Rockets to come in here and really show your ability so they can sit there and say, oh, why haven't we been playing him more? Look how he looks. But no, like you said, kid, see, DDP is on one with you, and I'm not trying to be like that with you, kid. DDP is on you. I'm trying to be positive, but I'm going to go to DDP side if you keep on doing this dumb stuff, dog.
Yeah. Oh, there goes one light early. Yeah, it's fine. I look more dramatic this way somehow. Yeah, Hardy in the G League has been absolutely killing it so far. He's had 4 G League games. He's averaging 26.5 points on 52.9% from the field, 42.9% from 3, 5 boards, 4.3 assists, 0.8 steals, and 0.8 blocks per game. He can create his own shot. He's a serious playmaker, and he's actually shown, we thought before like he was more of like, yeah, he can give you the offense, but defense, maybe. He's averaging nearly a block and steal a game, and he had a beautiful swat in transition on a dunk attempt the other night. The dude absolutely could be a viable option for you. I still think it's going to take time to season, but like you said, this is a perfect opportunity to play him. And it's not like you sent him way away. He's over in Frisco playing with the legends. You could have him right now in this game where you're practically flying the white flag anyway, or at least, putting it at a chance that you lose this game you shouldn't be losing. So why not? Why not get him out there? It's not like playing him a game here and there when you're in a rest situation is going to somehow stunt his development. Get him the action, because, yeah, he can go down to the G League and he can tear it up for a while. We see guys do that. To be fair, we do see guys who in the G League are just unstoppable, and then they get to the highest level and they can't really get on the court or make a real impact. Fair. We do see that. But you got to actually give him that experience. Just like last year, his first taste of G League, largely underwhelming. It was more like that people thought coming out of high school and going in that like, oh, he could be a top 10 lottery pick. He falls all the way to you at 37? Like ridiculous. But you see this year, how much better is he in G League? So it's like, you got to give the guy that taste, let him kind of adjust a little bit to it. And then when you bring him back later, he'll be ready, but he's got to know what he's going into. Like just having him just tear it up in G League and nothing else isn't quite the same, because in G League, they're going to feature him like prominently. All the shit's going to run through him. And like that is helpful and that will pay some dividends, but the level of competition isn't quite the same. The best thing you can do is find these little moments here and there. If you're not going to put him heavy in the rotation right now, fine. If you can't find consistently 10 minutes a night for him, fine. At least find games like this on your schedule where you're basically like, all right, we're not playing Luka. Second night of a back-to-back. Dinwiddie's kind of gassed already. We've been playing him heavy. Yeah, this would be a good time to bring him up. Let him and Wood play and just make this the Christian Wood, Jaden Hardy game and see what happens. And you started Josh Green tonight. You could have had like a great, really interesting trifecta to work with there. Not saying you win necessarily with that. You should. But at the very least, you have intrigue to the game. They couldn't even give us that.
I totally agree with you with that. This is the game. This was the game, in my opinion, to really show your young talent. Show your new player in Christian Wood, your young talent who you're trying to really grow into what you feel like can be building blocks for your team later on. You like Josh Green. You like what he's doing. Like you said, perfect time to have a Josh Green playing with a Jaden Hardy and a Christian Wood. You could have actually had all 3 of those guys on the floor together and can just see how they worked out and see how they played against. Like, we already know just as you said, Jaden Hardy going down to the G League, they're going to feature him. They know he's an NBA player. He's not a G League player. He's an NBA player. He's just coming down here for seasoning. He's not staying here. He's going back to the NBA because the NBA guy. He can go down to the G League automatically now and dominate because I'm an NBA player now. That's why Jason Kidd, you need to play him. He's an NBA player now. Okay, you want to give him some seasoning? Okay, but he's better than them. He needs to get NBA work now. He needs to get guys. I'm gonna go back to this, DDP. When I used to hoop all the time, I was a hooper. We had two courts. We had this court called JFK. Everybody who was anybody went down there. Okay, if you was a baller, you went to this court to really kind of prove yourself. And there were two courts there. We called it the regular court, and then we called it the second court. The second court, you already knew who was going to the second court. That was the players who weren't going to get picked up on the first court, didn't really have the skills. You could play over there all day, throw the ball up. You know, they playing weird because they can't come over here on this first court. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not ready for that life. The first court is where you get that work. So if you are a Jaden Hardy, you've already dominated on that court over there. I don't need to see that court or smell that court no more. He don't need to see that G League, in my opinion, no more. He needs to get NBA work. He can bang with the Jalen Greens. He can get with them. But this is where you give him confidence, DDP. This is the game where you give him confidence. If he came in this game and he scored like 15, 17 points, now he's feeling good when he goes home. I can bang with these players. I'm ready. But what you do, you let him stay in the G League. He's not getting no more confidence down there. He knows what he can do down there. This is a game where you gave him some good confidence against an NBA team, against NBA players in a regular season game that counts. Now it's more mental to him, and he feels a little bit better about yourself. Jason Kidd, you dropped the ball on a lot of fronts today, and you need to step up as far as that because that's getting on my nerves.
Yeah, you remember how we were saying a minute ago it was like 51-42 Dallas?
Yeah, I see 57-51. Yep.
Yeah.
Just like that.
All the more reason. You should have at least if you at least had your young guns in there, you would have been like, all right, that sucks, but learning experience.
Right.
How do you think how do you feel in a game like this where you got Tim Hardaway Jr. in 13 minutes throwing up 11 shots and he's 4 of 11?
Right.
Do you feel amped about that?
No, because we know this all. That's what Tim Hardaway Jr. does.
Right. It just games like this are frustrating. Real talk, I don't even have the game pulled up right now. I'm literally just following along with it. The score and Twitter feed and all that. It's one of those things where knowing Luka wasn't playing and all that, I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a loss. I will read through it. Shit's crazy, man, when you got a toddler running around and all that too. But it's just like, do I want to give my time and energy to watching this game? And it's like, oh, and Wood off the bench still, nothing's changing, no Hardy. Yeah, I'll probably.
And how do you even feel good about this, DDP? Don't you feel worse about this because this is like your regular players losing against this squad? At least if I threw all my young players in, I would not feel good about the loss, but I would say more of my young players played. They ain't really playing a lot, so this is okay for me. But you got your regular guys in there, and they're 2-12, and they're still beating you. Minus Luka, they're still beating you. So how do you go back and feel better about your team if the Rockets beat you tonight with your regular freaking guys? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't feel great about it, but it's a weird year so far, not just the Western Conference, like the NBA in general. So going through this, I saw someone make this comment. I feel like it was maybe Chuck Cooperstein made the comment about it, and I kind of dug into it a little bit. Every team in the league has at least 3 losses right now. The Milwaukee started 9-0, and they've now lost like 3 out of 4. So like every team is vulnerable, and pretty much everybody has bad losses as well. So like we can rattle off several that we're like, that's a joke, that's terrible. How'd you lose that game? You're whatever. We can find those examples. Dallas is sitting at, what are they right now? Their record
8-5, 7-1 at home.
Yeah, that's right. So you're looking at this and you see like, okay, the Warriors meanwhile are 0-7 on the road with losses to Orlando, Charlotte, Detroit, and Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
I hear people saying like, oh, well, this might be the end of the Warriors. To which I say, like, okay, even if it is, they got another ring out of it. Like they don't need, even if it is the end and they held on for like a heartbeat longer than necessary. Whatever. No one's gonna care. I also tend to think that they'll still be a very good team, that they're gonna figure this out and weather the storm. But in the West right now, every team has at least 4 losses. Your leading team is Portland. Then you got like Utah, Detroit, and I'm trying to remember who else is at the very top up there. Memphis is that's your top 4 seeds in the West right now. Other than Memphis, who's kind of been on the upcome the last couple of years, obviously we didn't expect Utah to be as good as they are. We thought they might win 15, 20 games in the year after dealing their 2 best players, and yet they hit 10 wins already. Like, that's impressive for them. But the parity in the NBA right now is more even than I can recall. Like East West, especially the West, there's not really anyone running away with it. Like Dallas beat Utah. They've beaten Portland, I think, as well. So it's a situation like that. Then you look in the East. Meanwhile, Boston's the number 1 seed over there right now, the best record in the East. OKC, they just took them to the wire basically in Boston. Boston had won 7 in a row, and OKC, I think, lost by 4 or something like that. Like, and I know OKC is making a big step forward. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looks like a bona fide star.
Yeah, he's a star. Yeah, he's a star.
We've already been talking about this for years. That King's ransom, I don't even know if King's ransom is a good enough term for it, that OKC got for Paul George. Good Lord. Just the fact that he was the centerpiece of it, you could have ended it there with like another first round pick and been like, that's a pretty good haul. Instead, you're looking at it and you're like, I'm sorry, you got like how many first round picks out of that? You got him, Gallinari, and like 6 first round picks for Paul George, who was already like 30 years old. Okay. Yeah. Ridiculous. And the fact that now SGA has basically turned himself into, it's amazing he hasn't been an all-star yet, but point being, even if OKC's on an upcoming,
he's still young and he's been in the league like 4 years.
Yeah, he was the 11th pick in the 2018 draft. And frankly, the Clippers would have been better off if they had just kept him. And somehow, and I get it, Kawhi was contingent on Paul George being acquired by a trade because they got George and then the Kawhi signing came after. But still, they would have been better off if they had gotten Kawhi and paired him with SGA, who they already had in-house. But whatever, their loss, my other team's gain.
Right.
Yeah, so it's an interesting situation for sure. Like the parity across the league is really strong. Like I said, Boston's got a 7-game win streak right now. I think the next closest, unless it's changed in the last, and it might well have, when I made this note yesterday, I think Washington was the next closest with like 4. And you know what? It did change. Washington just got, I think they're playing actually the Thunder right now, which would be a funny roundabout point. But yeah, it's the point. The parity in the league is at a ridiculous level. So to what extent do we take concern or stock, really? How do we evaluate, I guess, this start by Dallas, where you see some good, you see some bad, you see some really frustrating, but is it an everywhere sort of thing? Like, do we see that everywhere and therefore we shouldn't panic too much about it? Or is this team a clear case of regression and something has to be done promptly to address it?
I'm gonna go with the first thing you said. I think it's something that the parity is, because when you look at the numbers around the league, Dallas is 8-5 currently right now. The first place team is 10-4 in Portland Trailblazers, and they just beat them. You get what I'm saying? So
and you look at, did just beat Washington, so now that 4-game win streak is out.
Golden State is 6-8. You know what I mean? Like the Minnesota Timberwolves, who were everybody's talking about from last year, they were going to turn up. They're 7-8. Memphis Grizzlies are 9-6, and Dallas mashed them, albeit it was a back-to-back, but that doesn't matter. That happens in the NBA. That's the fact. So when you look at it, and this is the West, and the West is the strongest conference, in my opinion. It's the strongest.
Has been for a long time.
It's been for a long time, dominated for a very long time. So when you look at it, Dallas is 5th right now, and they're only 1.5 games out of first place in the whole Western Conference. So we can't really trip off of that. But what you just said is the maddening part is Dallas hasn't been playing their greatest with Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith. They have been struggling, especially Bullock. You feel me?
He had some big shots last night.
He hit some big ones, but he has been struggling. You know that, DDP.
Yes.
He's been struggling like
100%.
a month. All right. So for that fact that they've been struggling, you've been bringing Wood off the bench, and Wood missed a couple games already. You know what I'm saying? We shouldn't feel bad at all, but I think it's just a situation of those blown leads that bothers me. Like you brought up, them blown leads, because we've had multiple 20-point leads this year in these 13, 14 games. We've had I'm gonna say at least 4 or 5 20-point leads.
4 was what I was gonna say. And in every case, we've basically let it dwindle to 0.
Right.
And I think we lost 3 of the 4. I think that was part of what was out of the ordinary with the Clippers game last night, was they actually did steady the ship. I think it only got down to 1, and then they held on and pulled away. But it's all second half stuff. They build the leads early. They come out of the gates red hot sometimes, build the lead, and then that's also where I feel like it's likely to kind of sort itself out, because I do think like it's a focus thing, and like they have the guys and the leadership on this team that I feel like they can figure that out. I think right now it's just a little bit of a discipline thing where they know it's early in the season, and they get caught a little bit looking ahead, but they're not in any danger of anything right now, I think is how they view it. So they just kind of sit back and then mess around too much. All of a sudden the lead's gone. They try to like claw it back, hang on, but they've lost the momentum by that point. And in most cases they don't. Like it's frustrating. There's no other way to put it. I would also contend for how many 20-point leads they've blown, the positive is how many teams have built that kind of lead as often this year. Like Dallas is doing something right. They are in a situation where they're going out there against other good teams, threatening to run their ass off the court. And if it was like a playoff game or something that mattered, they would just do it. Like they would not just coast and take their foot off the gas. This is just because they're like, oh, not only is it regular season, it's early regular season. We're in the first 15 games. We don't got to worry about this, like that's just seems like the kind of attitude that they've had. And it's frustrating as a fan, especially when you're having to put the usage rate that you're putting on Luka, because you can't ask him. He's capable of dropping 35 a night. You should not have to ask him and require him to drop 35 a night for you to be relevant. That's maybe relevant is a strong word for you to win a lot of these games. Like if you look at the best players as they're winning, like Michael Jordan could have averaged more points per game. LeBron could have averaged more points per game. It's a case where these guys are once they've got a full team built around them, they don't have to do as much. They don't have to do as much of the heavy lifting. They can still do it in the big moments. They can still be the leading scorer and be, insane, but they don't have to carry the full burden. Luka could average 35, 37 points a game if he wanted, where that would get you come postseason, a first round exit, because he's out of gas. There's no point in that. I want, and I've called for this for 2-3 years at least. I want Luka averaging 25, 26 a game, but I want him averaging 12, 13 assists a game. I want him, as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't even have to be your leading scorer. You could
because he don't have to prove nothing. He don't got to prove nothing.
But his game is also the playmaker and the creator. He can create for himself. But like if you had a situation where like if you were to actually elevate Wood and feature him, if you had a situation where Wood and Luka were both averaging like 24 to 26 points a game, but Luka was also getting like 11, 12, 13 dimes, you're going to win a bunch of games.
A
Like you're
bunch
going
of
to be in a
games.
good position. It
Luka's a
doesn't
better
have to.
player when he gets better. Luka's a dog, but when he gets
Yeah.
some better players around him, just watch his game. He is not the type that when he sees you can hoop, when he sees you can get buckets, he is going to get you the ball. Like he will
Yeah.
look for you. Like he does not have a problem deferring to you. Like, here, go take that because I already know what I can do. I already know I can take over this game when I want to. I need to see some other guys do it. You feel
Yep.
me? I feel like that's what he feels like in his heart. I need to see them other guys, and he's happier. You see it. He is happier when everybody else is turning up.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what it basically boils down to, is like putting yourself in a position where he can be efficient, he can still be effective, and then come postseason, he's actually got something to offer. He's not just running on fumes.
Right.
I mean, that's last year was just a Herculean effort for him. Like basically, I almost got the feeling that like everything he had to expend to like come back in that Sun series, I felt like that was basically like almost all of the reserves he had left for a run. And by the time the Warriors thing came around, especially
and they
after
were
game
going to run
2,
him to death. Yeah, they were going to
oh
run
yeah,
that
not
ball.
not not only that, not only that, they also were very careful not to piss him off. Like every time they knocked him to the ground, they were the ones helping him up. Like, no, dude, it's okay, it's cool. They know angry Luka is not something you want to mess with, especially in the playoffs. The Clippers have messed around and thinking that would throw him off his game. It really hasn't in the past. The reasons they were beating Dallas was not because they were getting in Luka's head. Luka was destroying them, and they were having to weather the storm despite having vastly superior rosters to the Mavericks those 2 years. So it just felt like with Dallas in that series, they lost game 1. All right, fine. They had a 19-point lead in game 2, and then they lost it on the road, and that was like a heartbreaker for them. And that honestly felt like Dallas's best shot to do anything in that series. I think at that point it was like, all right, pride, let's just try to get one. And they got it in game 4 to avoid a sweep. That was it.
Right.
So I think Luka, the dependency on him is still too high. Worse, I feel like it's higher than ever. Even though you have pieces where you shouldn't have to ask him to do as much, they're asking him to do more than ever, his usage rate and all that. And I think it's going to bite them if they don't do something. So I contend not only do you have to stop messing around with what you're doing with Christian Wood, I think you also need to make a move like now. Like don't wait for the deadline. Do something as soon as possible to get a third ball handler, because even though the front office and everyone kept saying all off season, even as we were sitting here saying you need to replace Brunson, they're like, we've already got Spencer Dinwiddie, and we were when we had just Luka and Jalen last year, we were doing just fine before Dinwiddie came in. And yeah, it's great to have it, but you don't have to have it. And did I forget to mention, like, Josh Green's elevating, Frank Ntilikina is capable of being that third ball handler. Then why aren't they? Frank hasn't been healthy, but he's an okay. His impact is effort and defense. Trying to say now I want you to be a third ball handler and playmaker for us, not ideal. He can be at that. He can be fine, capable. Doesn't mean that's an ideal option. And Josh Green, for everything he's doing right, he can give it to you in small doses. It's not like replacing what Brunson gave you. And I'm not saying, hey, Hardy's got to come in and be Jalen Brunson right now. What I am saying is you need to do something to address it. And all summer, they gaslit the fan base, basically making it sound like they didn't need that. There wasn't any real pressure to do that. And now here they are like, oh yeah, they're publicly saying, it's not even just anything that they're saying, like whispering to their sources or whatever, their journalists that cover the team. It's not even anything they're whispering to them. They're basically saying it publicly, like, ooh, yeah, we need a third ball handler right now. We don't have enough creators. We're too high of usage on Luka. We're basically asking him to be superhuman, and that doesn't seem reasonable. Like, yeah, you think? Like, as much as you gaslight the fans, like, we don't know what we're talking about. And to be fair, there are fans with a lot of terrible opinions. I'm not trying to say, like, listen to the fans, they always know. But on something like this, it was kind of inexcusable. Like, go do something for it. Like, go find an upgrade for this roster. You can do it. You have pieces that you can probably flip and should flip, because I don't think they all fit terribly great together. You have a lot of guys that are kind of like those forward positions. They can't create for themselves. They're kind of just like spot up or one dimensional. You don't have guys that can basically handle the rock and do something with it. That's why they're trying to sell us on Frank and Josh, because they're like, well, hey, they can bounce the ball without it going off their foot, right? It's like, no. Like, get someone that can actually like weave through the paint a little bit. As much as Trey Burke had serious deficiencies, the very least, Trey Burke could weave through the paint and find something, create for himself or find something. I'm not saying go get Trey Burke, to be clear. I'm just saying that was a very useful ability that he had that they just don't have right now. So I'd like to see them actually address it and not keep gaslighting the fans as if they didn't need it. And, now it's just it would be nice to have. No, you need it, and you should have listened in the first place.
Yeah, man, I agree. There's a lot of agreements right here. They need another ball handler. Jaden Hardy, I think eventually, he needs to get minutes, but he's obviously probably not ready right now. Still needs some more seasoning. You need kind of maybe a mid-veteran that can come in and really give you some good quality minutes. I know they're playing Capazio and Frank. I call him Frank Nitty. That's not his last name, but I call him Frank Nitty.
Frankie Smokes.
Yeah, so I mean, I see it. He's just coming off an injury. Let's see what happens with that. But I don't know.
Getting worse.
Yeah, it's
64-55. It was again
54-55.
They're on like a 22-4 run.
Mm-hmm. And everybody's shooting bad. They're shooting 33% from the field, 32% from 3-point range. It's crazy how you shoot terrible from the field and the free throw line, but I mean from the 3-point line, but in the free throws, you're killing it. And it's usually opposite when you're shooting pretty good from the field, decent from 3-point range, and you're terrible from the free throw line.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, this is just a game where, like I said, you really should have had Jaden Hardy in this game. Josh Green has only took one attempt. Dinwiddie's 3 of 13. Hardaway, we know he does. He just be chucking up everything like he never going to shoot the ball again in his life, like this was his last NBA game. But hopefully, I hate to lose to this team. I really do hate to lose to them because I feel like this is an unwanted loss. Even if you rest Luka, you still could beat this team. You still should beat this team. Even with Luka being out, I feel like you still should beat this team. So we'll see kind of what happens. But, just kind of looking at the landscape, I do agree they need to make a move. They need to add another piece up in here to kind of help the squad. Kind of take it to even another level, because you can't never be satisfied, right, DDP? Can't never ever sit there and say, oh, we're okay, we're good. You can't never ever think about that as an owner, a GM, anything. You always got to be thinking, how can we make our squad better? We got to look at our team right now. What can we do to make it better? And that's what you always have to think about. And you can never feel like, oh, our roster is good, we're set, we're going to go ahead and attack it like this. No, you always got to look at you add a piece, and Mavericks still need some pieces on this team.
They do. You mentioned earlier Josh Green only one field goal attempt. He is 4 of 4 at the line, so he is at least attempting other shots. He's just drawing contact. But a game like this, the very least you got to give me is Josh Green attempting 12 shots or something. You got to give me that. You got to give me something where it's like, okay, Josh Green tried to actually like be active and like take on a primary creating role, trying to actually like do something himself. How does that look? How capable does that look? Because this is a game like this, you're just trying to find baby steps. You're just trying to find developmental milestones that you can point to. So later, like, perfect example, that Brooklyn game, that last one where Green was just unconscious, that was a moment. This should be the next, like, okay, let's see if you can do that again, because we're not really going to be in this game at this point. We're missing our best guy. So go out there, go see what you can do. This is your game. At this point, that's what I'm thinking. Like if I'm kid and I'm there, I'm in a timeout telling Josh Green, like, all right, I want you to get aggressive. I want you to go look for your shot. We'll set you up some stuff, but go looking for your shot. Go into attack mode and just see what you can do. So it is what it is. This game's probably not going to go the way we hoped, but kind of expected rather. So we'll see. Speaking of help, one thing that we know they will not be doing, thankfully, hard pass. They will not be acquiring in any way, will they be pursuing Ben Simmons. That was a report from, I think, a few days ago. I think it was a rumor that Dallas was interested in kind of monitoring the situation with Simmons. You got a report from Shams today, basically, like the Nets themselves, players, coaches, the franchise is concerned because not just his availability, but also they just don't think he has a passion for the game. And dude, I feel like that's been so obvious for so long. I know they felt like they had to get something for the Harden debacle. But if Ben Simmons was really the best you could get, when we already knew that Simmons was basically washed from the end of Philadelphia, I don't know what to tell you. Like that's a horrible return. You went all in, you did the best you could, whatever. He hit the other night 11 points, and that is his season high. And let me find the date of it. It was his highest scoring mark. Here it is. Most points he's had in a game since June 14th of 2021. 11 points. Now I understand, like, people are like, oh, well, he's not really a scorer. He's not a big points guy.
Yeah, I want to hear that
he's
shit.
A creator and he's
my
defense.
lane. No, I don't want to hear that. Nope.
He's all that. Nope. I'm like, he's 6'9". He's like
6'9". He's a legit 6'10" without shoes.
Yeah, well, okay.
You feel me?
He's capable. Does he have a busted ass jump shot? Yeah, because he for some reason never learned how to get one. The dude is the most overhyped, overrated prospect,
but he still could turn up. That's
ever.
The thing.
Even when he went to LSU, I never saw what people were so hyped about. I was like, he's got a lot of tools, but he doesn't excel really anywhere. Like, oh, he's a lockdown defender. Luka's cooked his ass plenty of times. And I understand, like, Luka's a generational player, but it's just like, okay, well, here is the elite of the elite in terms of one-on-one players, Luka, and Luka's cooking his ass every time they play him. I think his rookie year, he did a decent job against Luka, and pretty much ever since then, Luka has cooked him. Luka had him falling over himself the 2 times they played him this year, and dropping 30, 40 points, whatever on him. Didn't matter. So Simmons, it doesn't register to me people ever calling him a superstar. I'm like, he is a sticker price role player masquerading as a superstar. Like that's Ben Simmons at this point. He's had multiple back surgeries at now. Like, the guy doesn't have any real fire for the game. He doesn't have any real like desire to get better. He's just kind of coasting. He's just kind of there, and he's like, yeah, I love basketball. Not necessarily everything that comes with it, but I enjoy the game. And it's like, then you hear the report from everyone internally in the franchise, like, we have real concerns about whether or not he even likes the game, and like how much he cares to play, how much he cares to actually be there for his teammates and do things like that. Like, do I want him even like on my roster, even though he's still like in his, he's probably like 27, 28? Hell no. Even if he didn't come with the sticker price it comes with.
Is he that old? I thought he was still a little younger than that.
Let me look. Ben Simmons' age is 26. So I said 20. Yeah. Okay. So I was a little off. I said 27.
Oh, yeah. He was only 1 year off. You good.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Just kind of bouncing off what you said about Ben Simmons. Look, this is how I feel about Ben Simmons. No, Ben Simmons could be a dog. He really could be a dog. He has the skill set. I know the jump shot, but like you said, he doesn't want to work on it. I was never a great jump shooter. Okay. People who played me, I could shoot the jump shot, but I was never a great jump shooter when I played. I was going to take you off the dribble. Certain people who played me kind of maybe knew my game and knew I wasn't really shoot that jump shot all like that unless you kind of really maybe forced me. But I always knew there was a way I could get to the hole. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Even if my jump shot was working, I still could get to that hole on you somehow, some way. There was some way I was going to be able to score. If I passed that ball, I was going to go hard off these screens. I was going to be very active, attack the rebounds, get some passes. I was going to stay active where I was always going to get some points because you move around, you act like you want the ball. When you look at Ben Simmons, he really acts like he don't want the ball. He does
No, I
not
mean
want the ball.
that
He does not want the ball. He doesn't want that pressure. He doesn't want any of that life.
just look at the one play in the 2 years ago in the playoffs against Atlanta. Key
Yeah,
moment. I think it's literally game 7, and he has a situation right under the basket, wide open layup on Trae Young, and he kicks it out to the 3-point line. He had a crucial give me of a bucket. Could not ask for an easier look. And against Trae Young, he was afraid and kicked it out. That, like, his own fans couldn't believe what they saw. They're like, there's no way he just did that. And
but you
whether
know
you
what
want to
else?
say it's like an advanced version of the yips, he never got over that. I think that's the moment he like completely imploded, and like that was it. Any hope there was for him ever reaching the hype and everything that he was proclaimed to be, like all this great prospect,
But
two-way
he
player, all that
could. But
dissolved.
But here's the thing. He
I don't
could.
think he can
That's
anymore. I think the back
I mean,
is
he I
taking him
mean,
down.
he may not anymore, but that's his choice. He still could be a very good player with that size, that dribbling ability, can get rebounds. Yeah, he can. But now he's just checked out, dog. You can see he's done checked out. And now once you done checked out, it is over for you because he still could be a good player. Even at his way he's playing right now, he's still damn near getting triple doubles at low end triple doubles. He still can get you rebounds and assists. He just don't want that life because if you literally looked at his career at LSU, I looked at his career in high school. Nobody ever criticized Ben Simmons coming up. He never got no criticism. If you really look at his career, nobody ever said nothing bad about Ben Simmons. Even when he first got with Philly, he was the man. When
Sure.
Joel Embiid start tearing into him, because Joel Embiid don't care. Joel Embiid start
Yeah.
really tearing into him, really getting in his head, really messing with him, talking about him. I just don't think he's really he doesn't have a strong mentality, and he really can't take criticism, and he takes it to heart, and it really messes with him. And he's the type of guy that we've seen players that when they take criticism, some players like explode from that, like, okay, I'm gonna get better from that. I don't care
Yeah.
what you're saying. Some people can't take it. I've coached players, I've coached kids that when you criticize them, they get in the shell and they're done. It's like you
Right.
almost got to coax them and stroke them. And it's like, you ain't got time to do that to nobody in the NBA. You're a grown ass man making major, major money. You're making big money. So ain't nobody got time to coddle you and feel sorry for you because you're making millions, millions to be a top player. So I don't feel any. I mean, I know he went some things, but as far as the basketball side, I don't feel sorry for you. And just to kind of roundabout from my end, I'm glad Dallas. I don't know why you even contemplated it, but I'm glad you moved on from it because Ben Simmons would be no kind of asset in Dallas.
No, he wouldn't. We were talking about you need guys that, yeah, he's able to go off the dribble and do a little bit, but his numbers this year: 5.8
Nothing.
points,
That'd be a
6.1 rebounds,
waste.
5.6 assists,
That'd be a whole
47% at the free throw line. Nothing there. Like his career numbers: 15.6, 8, and 7.7. Yeah, that's much better, obviously. But I think whatever happened in his like last year and a half, basically in Philadelphia, completely like you said, just decimated him mentally. And then he had the back issues start up and everything, and I just think that basically wrapped it up for any hope he had of that. But I never viewed him as a superstar. I viewed him as like, you can't even call him a complete player. He was a nice two-way player. He could create, he could do some things like that. He was at a time a great defender, but it's just like, yeah, he's not a superstar. A superstar to me is someone that can go be Batman on whatever team. Like, doesn't mean that you get two Batmen on the same team, for instance. Like when you had Durant and Curry together, it's not like, oh, well, one of them's not capable of being that. No, they both are. But you have to be able to go to a team somewhere and be the guy and be a damn capable guy that can actually elevate the team. Like, you talked about it earlier a little bit, like
Mavericks are back in it. Just to let you know, Mavericks are back
nice. Like being a dog. Russell Westbrook, the last year that he had real relevance. I know he's been on a nice little tear here, but the Lakers are so terrible it doesn't matter since they moved him to the bench. But that 1 year he spent in Washington was actually a damn good year for him. Like Washington never does anything, never makes the playoffs or anything. He averaged a triple-double again like he does, got them into the playoffs, and their winning percentage, I think the second half of the season was like really strong. Like he helps turn them around and like elevated them there. That might have only been as high as they were going to go just to get into the playoffs. But that was something like you have to be capable of doing something like that. And to me, Ben Simmons was always just like I said, he's a glorified role player. Like he could be a damn good role player on the right team. Joel Embiid is your guy. Like he is your guy you're building around. Obviously, he just had his obscene game the other night, like 59 points. What was it? 15 rebounds, 7 blocks. Like absurd what he was able to do the other night. That's your Batman, no doubt. But man, even just being Robin to that Batman, I didn't think Ben Simmons really could do that, and it played itself out year after year to the point where even Embiid was just like, all right, I'm kind of done with this. This isn't happening. So yeah, no, thank you on any Ben Simmons talk. I literally don't care if they're trying to give him to you. I'm like, no, man, we need shooting. We need to surround Luka with shooters. You want to surround him with Ben Simmons?
It ain't even about the shooter now. I just don't want that mentality. I don't want that mentality in the building. He don't really care. You can see it on his face. He don't really care. He just got that look like he don't care. I've seen like he just look at him. He just like, I'm just going through the motions. I'm just doing what I can do. He's just collecting a paycheck at this point. That's just what he's doing. So you know what? I don't even want to talk about him no more. He get me mad right now.
That's fine anyway, because that was all I had on Simmons. But yeah, so it's interesting to see kind of where Dallas is at, where it feels like the West in general is at. I'll tell you this: I've been clamoring for this for 4 years, and there's some obvious bias in it, I will admit. The guy I want Dallas to go get, and he's not even a perfect fit for addressing like what we've been talking about with like a third ball handler. But it's such a solid upgrade. Yes, Buddy Hield.
I knew it.
Buddy Hield.
I knew it. That's your guy.
Dude shot like 47%.
I know.
Yes.
You want him
dude
so
shot
bad.
Like 47% from 3 last year on like 7 attempts a game. Like
it was so bad.
The dude is a legit. Like I understand. Like at OU, he was a great two-way player, great defender. He was like a 3-and-D guy and could create for himself a little bit. In the NBA, he's not a great defender. He's average at best. And he's not going to do a whole lot of creating for himself. But even if you just want to say, hey, man, just go knock down 100 threes, he'll go do it. And everyone's saying like, oh, don't you already have that in Tim Hardaway Jr.? No.
Not
Tim
like
Hardaway
him.
Jr. is nothing like what Buddy Hield brings in terms of efficiency. Buddy Hield takes, like I said, like 7 a game and shoots over like well over 40%. Tim Hardaway Jr. is like his best year of his career, I think, is 38%. And it damn sure wasn't on 7 attempts a game. Like Buddy Hield's like, I got one thing I do, and I do it.
If he could have the opportunity to chuck up like 20 a game, he would.
Yeah. Oh, he absolutely would. And you know, he's one of those guys too, where it's like his contract, he's still working off of the deal he signed with the Kings, which I think was like a $95 million. It's a big contract, but it's far enough out now that you look at it and you're like, that's not even like terrible, you know? He's averaging 18.8 points, 5.5 boards, 3.2 assists. Ridiculous what he's doing, like for the role especially he's in. Let me see, Buddy. I want to compare his stats, like career stats, against Hardaway, because that's really the conversation we're having.
I don't know why you don't know why you're doing it. I feel why you're doing it, but that ain't even close in my opinion. Tim Hardaway Jr. is just I don't got no words for him. Only reason why I can get hyped about him is because he's on Dallas Mavericks and we need somebody who can hit the three. But bro, when he be coming in the game, he be doing that goofy stuff. Like he just be chucking them up, and I just be wanting to jump through the TV and fight him sometimes because I'm just like, every time he catches the ball, bro, it don't matter. He just chucking it up. Like he don't have no regard for life. How way he chucks up them threes, and I think that's one of the frustrating things when we talk about losing them 20-point leads. Dallas starts settling for them damn 3-pointers. They get a 20-point lead, and then as soon as they come down court, that one pass, not even a one pass. It's come down the court, shoot, and it's a 3. Luka passes to you, 3. You don't have to shoot that daggone 3 every daggone time. Push it inside, drive to the hole, do something. That's why they lose them leads. They keep chucking up them threes, and you know what? After they chuck the 3 DDP, they stand there and look, and they get killed in transition defense, and that's how them teams come back.
Yeah, no, I agree. Dallas and their efficiency, they're in like the top 5 in terms of scoring efficiency in the first half, and they're in like the bottom 6, I think, in the second half. Like they'll rush out to the leads and then they just kind of cruise, and it's because they get inefficient. They start settling for jump shots, not getting to the basket, all that. So Buddy Hield career stats: 16 points a game, 4.3 boards, 2.5 assists, career 39.8% 3-point shooter. Hardaway is a 35-7 on his 3-point shooting. And if I'm just looking at this most recent year, because that's really the comparison to make, you got Buddy Hield last season was shooting... Let's see. Well, from the field, he was 44%. Last season was actually slightly down for him. 3-point percentage, he was 36. But Hardaway is, for his career, not near the marksman. A lot fewer attempts a game as well. And Buddy Hield this year is shooting over 40%, basically 41% from 3. So it's just a matter of you'd be getting such a substantial upgrade there, and a guy that can be much more consistent for you. Because we talk about it too, like the still weirdest nickname to go with for your starting forwards, your Bang Bros, essentially, with Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock. They're like, I love Dodo. I love me some Dodo. And Bullock was so huge for them last year.
I don't love Bullock.
Last year in the playoff run was so huge for them. I appreciate all of that. I also know for a fact that like they're both streaky. They're both capable of going into prolonged ruts like they've basically been to start this year. And Hardaway is just like that as well. Hardaway is a guy who can get scorching hot for about a dozen games and then be an iceberg for the next 20. And that's just kind of what you get. And it's like, yeah, I don't need 3 guys that do that, especially one like Hardaway, who will take, like you said, he's in the game 10 minutes, he's going to take 10 to 12 shots. You don't need that. You don't need the guy. Like, it's a good shooter mentality, but you don't need an Antoine Walker type player that's just like a volume shooter and scorer. You need someone that can be a little more efficient with it. And I think Buddy Hield would be a phenomenal addition and upgrade with that respect. And if you do that, and then you just actually try to develop your Jaden Hardy and all that, I'll feel better about where they're headed.
That'd be great if you could just do a straight up swap. That'd be awesome.
You won't, but
so
it
happy.
would be great.
I know it would never happen, but man, that'd be awesome. I'd be feeling so good because, like you said, now we have somebody who, Tim Hardaway Jr. Man, he's 7-17 right now, 18 points. Is the second leading scorer. Christian Wood has 26 and 3 right now. Mavericks are down 2 points with the end of the third, so hopefully they can pull this out with the backup team. That would make me feel good, just because you want to stay. I want to stay on top, and just like you said, as much as we've been frustrated, not really frustrated, but just frustrated with the losing of the leads, still got to feel good about. You beat a Portland Trailblazers, who's the best. Well, they have the best record in the Western Conference, you beat them. You get what I'm saying? Yep. Memphis Grizzlies. Yes, I know they did the back-to-back, but they're one of the top teams in the West. You beat them. You get what I'm saying? Clippers, they ain't chopped liver. You beat them. You know what I mean? So
Right.
So you had some ugly losses, but they were ugly losses where you could have won. You know what I'm saying? And you should have won. So I feel good about that. And remember, we talked about it before the season even started. DDP kind of in closing this in the capsule. We talked about this in the beginning that we thought the team was going to come out slow out the gates anyway. And when I look at the record, it's surprising to me because I didn't know if this record was going to be the way it is. I thought it'd be more slower out the gate. So compared to what we were talking about at the beginning of the season, I don't feel as bad.
Yeah. Record wise is about what I thought. The difference is I thought it would be more stagnant. And I think it's almost the fact that they have shown how capable they are at multiple instances, building those 20 plus point leads. That's kind of what has me frustrated because it's like, oh, okay, so you know what you need to do and you do it, but you just can't for some reason make yourself give the full 48 minutes of it. You let up, and teams have runs. Every team, especially first half 20-point leads, whatever. Those don't last, especially in the NBA. You're not running away from anybody just because you built a 20-point lead. But when you're routinely giving those up, and every single time you build that lead, the team comes back and either overtakes you, beats you, or at the very least makes you scratch and claw for what looked like you were going to coast just an hour earlier, that starts to become a little bit concerning. So I think the main thing is they did start generally slow, like we predicted for a while. It's still early, obviously. We're 15 games in. My big thing is that if you're starting slow and you have nights like tonight, you need to be finding ways to maximize it and experiment a little bit. You need to be a mad scientist in there, basically saying like, all right, how do I get the most long term? This isn't just about tonight. Let's just think bigger picture here. I need to make sure that I'm building up Josh Green. Let's have Josh Green cut loose a little bit tonight and try to do some more himself. Take a bigger responsibility than he usually has. Let's see how he adapts to that. Think big picture that way. We should have Jaden Hardy in here actually playing a little bit, see what he's able to do. Even if Jaden Hardy came out and he was like a 1 for 8, I would be like, okay, learning experience. Because we've seen those kind of performances from him. It's not like they never happen. Okay, cool. Go back to G League for a little bit. But now now you've got a little bit of a feel for that. And when you come back next time, you'll be a little bit more capable. That's what I want to see. I want to see him getting those minutes while they're there for the taking anyway, because you're not going all out for this win anyway. Maybe you'll still get it. You should. Houston doesn't even want it. But you gotta find ways to at least think big picture, try to develop your chemistry, try to develop some of these guys and to help them assume those bigger roles, whether that bigger role be later this season, beyond this season, whatever. If you're talking Hardy and you're talking Josh Green, those are guys that you would ideally hope to be cornerstones. You want them to be part of this core you build around Luka and Christian Wood, maybe. You got to let them do it. You got to give them that opportunity to actually do it. And it's not like they need Luka there to hold their hand every step of the way. Let them stand on their own a little bit, get their feet wet, and then deal with the steps that come after. Just having them go down there in G League and just light it up night after night. Hey, that's fun, but that only gets you so far. You got to see the show. You got to see what it's actually like.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, they gotta get a Hardy up here ASAP. I don't know if they're gonna make any moves, but that's a move that they gotta get going. I don't want to keep on hearing the excuse he's young, because this is a young players league. These guys are coming in, as I said before, at 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're ready to play now. You just seen Paulo Pachero. He played 1 year at Duke and he's going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Ben Machua, he's going nuts. I said it's going to be between both of them being a rookie of the year. Both of them are like, 19 years old? So we can't hear that excuse like the young players can't play the game. And as I said before, he's already played in the G League last year. He left high school to go to the G League because he ain't want to fool with college. You feel me? Because he felt like his game was on that level. So he's already proved that he can do it. Let this man start getting some minutes in these games, even if it's like in the second quarter, end of the second quarter, 2 minutes in the game. Let him continue to get his feet wet so he can get used to this, because you need his skill set on the court. Period.
You do. Even weirder is the Legends are playing also right now, and Hardy is not suited up for them either. So tonight he's getting nothing.
That's terrible.
I don't even know how that happens. I think they're in like Mexico or something tonight. But even still, how like,
that's crazy.
You know, they call players up and down all the time from recall them from the G League all the time. But how did your signals get crossed to the point where he wasn't able to make the game tonight? You know what I mean? It's not like you called him up this morning or sent him down to the G League this morning. If you did it, it would have been a couple days ago at least. He's played 4 games for them this year. So that just feels like, as we're talking about, like, you got to think big picture. It's like, oh, you got nothing beneficial coming out of this. You don't even have like, oh, well, that was a frustrating game. Let's see how Hardy did for the Legends. Ooh, 36 points. Nice. That'll be very nice in our lineup someday. You don't even have that tonight. Tonight it's just like, feel like we maybe missed something. Like, it would have been good to have at least that.
Yeah, it was a big miss.
It is what it is, man.
It is what it is. Yeah, so it is what it is. Who we got next before we get up off here? Who we got next?
Let's see. Do we have? I don't know that there's anything else Mavs centric to talk. I don't.
No, I was saying like our next game. Who Mavs play?
Next game, who they play? I thought you were talking about the segment wise, and I was like, I feel like we kind of already covered everything.
Yeah, we talked.
Let me pull up the Mavs schedule now here. Mavs next game have looks
Nuggets.
Like Nuggets. Yep,
Nuggets
back to back, both at home too. Interesting.
And that'll be good because Dallas is 7-1 at home.
Yeah, Dallas has been very good at home this year. Their one loss was to OKC.
Oh, don't bring that up.
Speaking of OKC, we talked about SGA earlier. Dropped 42 points tonight on 13 of 17 shooting.
That's crazy because I think he dropped like 38 the night before that.
Do you want me to run you through his? Do you want me to run you through his scoring for the year?
No, I've been seeing.
Gladly do it.
I've seen his scoring. I closely pay attention because I like Josh Giddey as well. So I like that backcourt that they have. But you know, his game, the way he just gets to that hole, he gets to the rack. Like, he is getting to that rack no matter what you say. And it's a good thing. I love watching this game, man. I like the way his game has matured, and he's going to continue to get better. So I like seeing it, and I like seeing the Mavs 81-81 beat these Rockets, pull this game out somehow, some way. Wood is turning up. Hardaway Jr. is turning up. So I guess they're going to kind of live off them because Dinwiddie's playing terrible. So I guess this will be the Christian Wood, Hardaway Jr. show. So please, both of y'all pull it out. Wood get like 30 tonight, and let's get this dub and get ready for these Nuggets on this back-to-back, because that's going to be a kind of tough game because the Nuggets got squad.
Yeah, no, they do. It'll be a really good one. Steve Lupton, your timing is very unfortunate as we are hitting the wrap up.
Yeah. Hitting the wrap. Play the replay, baby. That's why they got rewind.
Right. Yeah, Shea has been unreal this year. He's averaging 31.5, and I think he has, you know, we talked earlier, Luka's streak he was on before that Magic game broke his streak of consecutive 30-point games to open the year. Shea had like a 26-point game early on, and then it was like 32, 36, 38, 38, 31, 36, like murdering it, just absolutely tearing it up. And yeah, tonight 42 points on 13 of 17 shooting, just masterclass. Really, really special player there. So happy for OKC that amidst all that they lost, you think about like the star power they lost in their short history. You're like, wow, you thought a franchise had Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, also at different tenures had Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. Like you rattle off those names, you're like, they never did anything, huh? Well, they lost all that and had a little bit of a rough stretch there, but now they've got another essentially homegrown talent. Shea, I think, only had 1 year with the Clippers. So essentially another homegrown superstar, it looks like, in the making in SGA. But we'll see.
We'll see. Just don't beat Dallas no more.
Yeah.
Your worst game against Dallas.
But yeah, so that'll pretty much wrap up everything for tonight's show. We'll be back next Wednesday, same time, running it for episode 26.
26 in the building.
Yep. We'll have plenty to talk about then, I'm sure. See how this team does, because obviously we've got a couple good games coming up with Denver. Really a good measuring stick for Dallas, especially to see how they're going to respond after a little bit of a shaky start. You got Luka, his rest game tonight, so see how they bounce back. But we'll run it back then. Anything else we want to touch on?
Nah, man, nothing I got to touch on. Just like I said, continue to support the channels, DDP with the Dallas Prospect, Big Game James, my page, my channel. Go out there and support how we do it. We didn't talk any Cowboys, but we'll talk about that. But right now, we're talking about these Mavericks. So just go out there and tell the people. If you know any Mavericks fans out there, if you really like Mavericks basketball, if you like basketball in general, because it's not just Mavericks we talk about the opposite team and their players as well. So jump on here, man, and go out here and share, like the channels, both channels, and share the hell out of this. You know, people that like the hoop game, share it so we can continue to expose the good things about the Dallas Mavericks and what they're continuing to do. And like you said, we'll be back next Wednesday. Same bad time, same bad channel, talking all the good things, Mavericks, and we'll see how it happens with this good back-to-back. It'll be a good test. Mavericks the Nuggets have a good squad. I think I don't know if he might be injured or whatever, but still, they got a good quality squad. Jamal Murray is back. So I definitely like to see this matchup and see how it happens, and make sure you tune in, because, hey, even before Wednesday, we still might drop a good, the bad, the ugly. So make sure you just keep on supporting and liking and checking out the channels. And let's continue to be great out here in these streets, man.
Sounds good, man. Till next time, guys.